Welcome back to Chit Chat. This is episode 121. It's been a minute. We took off a week, but we're back again this week. And we're going to talk about a few things. One we'll get to in a bit is that we are all just at Origins.
Yeah.
The reason we took off.
Yeah, part of the reason why we took off. I think Jeremy, as we're recording this, he may still be in transit back from Origins.
Yeah, I think so.
But we went at different times. The three of us drove down there Thursday, and we played some games. So we're going to be talking about some of the games. We brought back some games.
Yep.
We'll talk about those at the end. We're going to play a little player versus player somewhere in the middle.
Here we go.
Pit these two against each other. But we're going to start things off by talking about breathing new life into old games. And by old, we mean before today.
Not the hotness.
I mean, you say old in quotes, but some of these games, like this topic for me, when I think of this, I think of restoration games. That's the number one thing that jumps to my head.
Those are old games.
Those are old games.
Oh, that's a good point, actually, now that I think of it.
Right, but they do a really good job. Some of these games are definitely like pre when I was alive, not just pre when I was gaming. And the new one, they have crossbows and catapults.
Oh, yeah.
And just getting to see like that kind of fun being had. And coming back from Origins, maybe it's just stuck in my mind because not only did they have crossbows and catapults there for us to play, and we did play
Check
it.
out, we have a short on the channel that you have to watch.
Yes.
Emily had a beautiful chef's kiss last shot, and Ryan caught it in slow-mo.
But also Thunder Road Vendetta being everywhere Origins. It was one of the best-selling games, and as I was walking through the gaming hall, people are just playing it. It's cool, like, what year is it that people are like, we're playing Thunder Road and crossbows and catapults? You know?
Well, what's amazing about, and we've said this about Restoration before, but what's amazing about what they do is they take a game. Crossbows and catapults is a good example because when you think about that game back in the day, it is just kind of a big toy of a game. There's not much serious gaminess to it.
Sure.
And they do a good job of adding those layers to where it's like,
but they had cards and things.
Yeah, it's a little more interesting, even to enthusiast gamers like us. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to get crossbows and catapults out to the table a ton, but I definitely want a copy and I want to play it. We actually had quite a fun playing around with it.
Yeah, I mean those are games, but there's also the trend of like what we would consider classic hobby games.
Yeah.
That are getting restored or upgraded.
Restored, upgraded, or in some cases just re-released. Is it Sans Souci?
Yeah.
Or I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but that's an old game that I believe was probably mostly out of print. And another publisher came along, picked up the rights, and had ran a Kickstarter for it. And I literally don't think there's much different deluxe about it at all.
Sure.
That particular one is just a straight up reprint.
Yeah.
Which sure, it's good. That's good to do. I mean, I want to see a little deluxification.
Sure, that'd be nice.
Well, if you want deluxification, it makes me think of the Queen games, the whole line they've been doing with the Feld games.
Yeah,
right now.
that too.
Very good
They've
point.
just been releasing all of those, right? They have Hamburg, New York, what was it, Cusco that we just played?
Yeah, that's a lot.
There's a lot of those. And they have more
before we
coming.
even talked about this topic, I didn't even think of that.
Yes,
that is
that's
a
like
massive.
all the stuff they've been putting out.
You know what I love about this line? Not to derail to that, but I love the fact that they're sprinkling in some new Feld games into the remake. So you're getting a little bit of a mix of like classic Feld games that feel more modern with some more modern Feld games.
Or at least
as well.
new. Is there more than Marrakesh?
I don't know what we're allowed to talk about.
Maybe Ryan knows something.
I just know they're not done with the line. Okay, there's more City Collection games coming.
That's true. The other thing in this topic, and tell me if you guys think this qualifies, is, well, surely I think it does. All the things like the La Granja Special Edition that have come out.
Oh, sure.
Castles of Burgundy, which was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this, because we just got it. And I was telling Emily just earlier. And now, to be fair, this happens every time I play Castles of Burgundy, whether it's the deluxe or not. But it's one of those games, and we played it on the live stream recently, and I was like, it's a good game. Like, it just reminds you of
it's in David's top games, but somehow he's always amazed by it every
I was
time.
like, I forgot I love this game.
It is, but I don't play it that often. Like, we don't play any of our older games very often. But it's like,
that's an excuse,
you
right?
play one of those, and you're like, yeah, I remember why I love this game, and I'm glad that they did that deluxe version.
And I hope this is not the last one. And again, like a lot of people might say, okay, and I think even David was like, this game may be a little too overproduced.
Which?
We didn't Castles
Castles.
of Burgundy. We didn't ask for the 3D tiles, but they sent us the 3D tiles, so we used them. And I think maybe a quarter of the way through, you were like, okay,
I'm
on
sold.
board.
I was sold. Honestly, I didn't want all of the 3D. I like the castles,
Yeah.
but I thought the terrain, you have to swap it out. It wasn't that big of a deal, and it did look cool in the end.
So I think like that line, I don't know if I want to call it a line from Awakened Realms, but the love that they put into Castles of Burgundy, I'd love to see them do something like what Board and Dice does. Board and Dice has had those big collector's editions. We talked about La Granja.
Yeah.
They did Snowdonia, the big box, Yido, big box, and all of these big boxes come with like everything you could ever want. And almost to the point where you're like, let me just wait 10 years to get this game. I know I'll have everything.
I'm not a huge fan of the deluxification because I'm okay. Controversial opinion. I don't like the deluxe stuff as much. I mean, we play with it sometimes, but for me, I'm not usually gonna buy it because I'm like, I'm just gonna buy the regular copy of this, especially if it's not gonna get that many plays with my copy specifically.
Okay.
What I do like is when they kind of almost re-release games, but like updated to a newer version. So we just played Archeos Society, right? So that's like a new version of Ethnos. And I really appreciate when they take a game and kind of modernize it again so that a lot of games I haven't played, right, because they were older and people are like, oh, it's just not on their mind anymore, so they don't play it. But when they re-release it, I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to try that game, and now people are into it again.
Right.
That happened with Sky Mines as well, right? When it was,
good
it was
example.
Mombasa before.
Yeah,
Mombasa,
Mombasa.
And then Sky Mines came out. I was like, oh, we can finally play this game. I couldn't get someone to play it before, but now I can.
Like
'cause
Mombasa,
now
that
it's
game's
new
old.
again.
Oh, Skymine. Okay, let's do that one
Exactly.
instead.
Well, Ethnos isn't exactly old, but I do want to talk about that for a second because one of the things they did that was cool is the game isn't just a reskin of Ethnos. It is largely like Ethnos, and if you play this, I think you'll say, "Oh, was this Ethnos?"
You'll already know how to play it.
However, they've replaced the area control with basically tracks that you're going up, and that does it ends up feeling more different in that respect than you'd even guess from it being area control. Because to a large degree, it is really just kind of redefining how the area control works,
right,
but on a track, and it pretty much plays that way. But there are some things different about it, and not to mention the theme itself is quite different, and it felt really fresh.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, of course, like the artwork change alone was a
the
huge
whole
boon for that. And I think that's something too. Like, for a long time, I think Euros kind of had a reputation for being boring looking and being dry looking, and people just kind of went with that. And some of these upgrades, like the new like Agricola Anniversary Edition or whatever, or the new Stone Age Anniversary Edition, where they really put a lot more love and care into like what the worlds look like, what the art look like, what the components look like. That's why I like to come back to these remakes, because they just look prettier on the table, and
it's easier to get people to play them then, right? If you see a game that's all beige and it looks so boring, and you're like, please come play this 3-hour game with me, people are like, oh god.
Yeah, the last one I want to talk about too, and I almost forgot about this one, but it like embodies this topic so much, is Shipwrights, the Redux edition.
Oh, see that?
So like, this is a completely, we haven't played it. We do have a copy of it. We're going to get it played very soon. We might even have content up sometime this week if you're watching this when it drops. But I believe that the game is very different.
Well, and that's a really great example of like, I think Shem did a really good thing here with this, because when that game came out, the whole idea of like this Compass line of games was just kind of in its infancy. And now it's kind of got an established flow. People kind of know what to expect. And that game did not fit. It was very conflict-driven and very take that. And I think he looked back and said, people have an expectation now, and I want to release a game that fits in with this line. I think that was really smart.
They're basically, it feels like they're going back and making with the Raiders than the North Sea trilogy, trying to make it feel more like one of their more current trilogies that they put out there.
As it stands right now, both the West Kingdom and South Tigris just demolish the North Sea.
Sure.
Raiders was
Raiders is great. Game. I love Raiders, but the other ones not so much. They felt kind of like spin-offs, if you will.
I mean, like the other, and I don't think he had defined what that was going to look like, and I think that's true. You mentioned that too, like when they do modernize the games, because gaming has changed so much. So like when we play games where they've updated roll and move, and now it's like card-based play or something. Just minor little quality of life adjustments. And I actually did want to pitch a question to you guys.
Ooh.
What is one that you think needs that? What is a game that you think needs that modernization that you'd love to see them bring out a new edition of with maybe new artwork or anything like that?
You want me to go first?
Yes, please.
I'd like to see a new version of The Witcher Old World. I'm just kidding.
With even more deluxe.
It's just another reason to bring it up.
Oh my gosh.
No, one that like that I think that's a little old and longer in the tooth. You know what? There are some games, I think a kind of game that fits into this category are games that were really good, but kind of flew under the radar for one reason or another. Uh-huh. And I think those could be served well by having kind of a new life. What was it, Hadara?
Oh, yeah.
Hadara is a really good game. But for one reason or another, I think it just kind of got forgotten a little bit. But it is a really, really good game. And it was kind of it's just a very generic civilization theme. And even as that, it wasn't very specific civilizations. It was just kind of civilization.
Right.
But the gameplay was really good, and I'd like to see, you could probably take those mechanics. In fact, that's a game that you could probably take and make a non-civilization game and do all sorts of things with it.
They really expand upon that?
Yeah, and just a reskin even, just to breathe new life into it.
Good choice.
I mean, the two that came to mind, one was Race for the Galaxy, because I really like that one. But it's like, it felt like Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition kind of did that.
A little bit,
where it did kind of modernize it. Because it feels very much like Race for the Galaxy, especially since they're similar themes. But I love that game, and I think I would like it
like
updated.
A big box with nice
and they have a lot of different editions of it and a lot of different expansions to it as well. The other one that I came to mind was Puerto Rico, which I know was getting
they just did,
actually just did. And they finally did that.
I'm excited to play that one as well, because I played it. It's been a while now since I played it.
Been a minute.
And I remember liking it, and it's again one of those games where I'm like, I would like to get it back to the table, so I like when things get re-released because it gives it another reason to get back to the table.
And that's a great example too, because you talked about Mombasa earlier, and these are both games where they took this as an opportunity to kind of address some of the themes that were maybe a little problematic and just kind of like change it. I think that's smart.
Although I think they're going the wrong direction because I think they put a year in it. And I hate games with years.
Oh, that's true.
What?
I never.
We have a person on the channel that hates years in games.
I hate it.
Christina from Blue Pig Pink Pig cannot stand years in games.
I remember the year.
Wait, so that means you won't play Expeditions 1920 plus?
Or Pulsar 2849?
I don't remember these names.
Hey, that's a Pulsar. That's another one that kind of flew under the radar. It didn't really fly under the radar. It's well loved.
Pulsar.
But a big deluxe edition of Pulsar. I was going to say Twa. For me, that's a game that's still one of the best dice games I've ever played.
Yeah, they could take those mechanics and apply it in all sorts of different things.
Well, they did with Black Angel, but it was too.
That was quite a bit different.
Too different, right?
I would love Twa to be a different theme too, so I could remember.
So you can remember more about it.
All I remember about Twa is the mechanics, because the theme just like goes straight up my head.
Theme, yeah.
Well, speaking of remembering, I'm going to put these guys to the test in a second with a little player versus player. We're going to pick a letter, and they're going to have to see what games they can think of. And we're back after a little brief discussion about what letter I might say, and we had some conversation about whether or not I should share the letter so they could start thinking.
He wouldn't tell us.
Which we didn't. We didn't do that. We also
just flat out on the spot.
What the name of this game should be. Let us know in the comments below. What should we name this game? He said name the game. I mean, that's about as generic as what I'm about to say, and that's the alphabet game. So forget all of that. You get the idea. I'm going to say a letter. In fact, I'll say it right now so you can think.
Okay, please.
While I explain a little bit more.
Please do.
What do we got?
The letter is R. So the game is they're going to have to go back and forth and name games that have the letter R in them and sort of start with the letter R.
Okay.
You know, it can't just have a letter R in it. You can't. You're not starting.
All I'm saying is ruh in my head.
So games that start with the letter R, again, before they go, get down in the comments below and let us know what we should name this game. Please make it better than the alphabet game or name that game.
I mean, name that, okay. At least those both drive the point.
Vote for name that game down in the comments below.
No.
Are you just trying to delay and think of more R games while we wait a little bit?
I am going to just pick randomly who to start, and I'm going to start with Emily.
Okay, ready?
I am ready.
My first game is Raiders.
Raiders?
Of the North Sea.
Of the North Sea. Thank you. Thank you.
Red Rising.
Oh, that's double. That's double letters again.
Alliteration, is that 2 points?
No, I tried to get.
There's no R's up here. You're gonna have to.
There's Red Rising.
Oh, Red
right
Rising
there.
is actually up there.
All right, got it. Rajas of the Ganges.
Ooh, good.
Very good.
Return to Dark Tower.
Oh, you know what? I think Jeremy and Ryan are both better than us at this.
I got it. Resurgence.
Ooh, good one. Rest in peace.
He's got him.
I know, he's so ready. Ready, set, bet.
Oh, I wasn't even ready for that.
You put Ryan on tilt.
You did put me on tilt because that was
yes,
going to
yes,
be
yes.
my. Yeah, that
I know.
really put me on tilt.
I'm not gonna
So
say.
there's a 0% chance.
I don't want to give any
and
hints.
I'm feeling good now.
Yeah, you.
People
might
in the
be.
comments though are yelling
Look,
this
I'll
one
tell
that I'm
you-
thinking from moment one.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not gonna say
I got
anymore.
one. Okay.
Oh,
I'm ready.
she's
got more than
ready.
I'm ready.
Oh,
Ooh, we're gonna count you down, Ryan.
nope. I'm on the spot. I know
I
more
know.
R games than this.
5,
Is this really my thing?
4,
Ugh.
I can feel the victory coming
Three.
towards me.
You probably can.
2,
Is
1.
there? Do you really know
I
another
have
one?
another one.
This is so hard when you're on the spot.
I got it. I'm
Yeah.
stealing it. It's root.
Oh, I
Root.
see. I just played that even.
Oh, Ryan.
I probably played a bunch of games this weekend that started with R.
I'm glad you didn't risk any money on that.
All I heard was Ready Set Bet, and I was like, all I could think of was that was such a good one. And my brain shut off. I was just like, all I wanted to say was Ready Set Bet.
Yeah.
Emily and
That's
I were
what
talking
happens.
about this earlier, and I do think that first of all, it's harder when you're sitting
When
in
the
these
cameras
chairs
are
with
on,
the camera on.
it's hard.
For sure. But also, plus, the other person says a thing.
And then all you think about is that thing.
That's
and
what
it just
happened.
derails
I'm telling
you.
you.
I know.
Ready, set, bet puts you into this mindset of like, oh, that was Gen Con. What else came out at Gen Con?
Yeah.
Like, it just
That's literally-
derails your
I was
train
like,
of thought.
we were
I was
like, ready. What else starts with ready? Nothing else starts with
Yeah, it's
ready.
like Ready
Yeah.
Set. No, Ready Set Go. No.
That is what
I really,
happens
I
for
would tell you
sure.
that was what literally. I almost sputtered out Ready Set Go, and then I just stopped myself. Like that's not.
I can't believe I got that. When I said I'm not ready, I was like, oh, that's ready, set, bet. And then I was like, that's all I got.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
When I also we talked about Restoration Games, I almost said Restoration Games,
Yeah.
which again is also not an R.
So we've done 2 letters now in the unnamed game
Yeah, but this one
that
was
you're going to
terrible.
name down in the comments. What did we do? M?
We did M last time.
And
And that
R.
was me and Jeremy, and then this one was Emily and Ryan.
I can't believe I
at
got the
R.
win.
Well
It's going to be
done.
my one win.
That was
versus
good.
the
No, it's not gonna
She
be a
did not
one-win.
expect to win.
did
She
not.
thought Ryan would have like a laundry list.
And
of it.
that got me that one shot. I do now. I've already thought of 4 more, so that's just how this game
Tell
works.
us what you thought of in the comments. Put Ryan to shame.
Yes.
Yeah, once it's done and the pressure's off, your brain unlocks and you just start streaming them. That's what happens.
And we'll be back in a second with sort of a special edition of the games we've been playing. But before that, let's talk about Phantom Sleeves. If you play board games with cards and you want them protected, you should check out Phantom Sleeves. They're top-notch quality, easy to play with, and they care about your cards and the environment. Plus, Phantom Sleeves are made with board gamers in mind. The sheer variety of sizes and shapes is kind of crazy. So no matter what game you're playing, they most likely have the perfect sleeve. And whether you want to see your cards crystal clear or avoid that annoying glare from the lights above your table, they've got you covered with both glossy and matte options. And if you're like, I just don't sleeve my cards, well, maybe you should stop and think for a second. Who's going to protect the dusky leaf monkey? Phantom Sleeves. That's who. All right, like I said, this is a special edition of the games we've been playing because we're going to be talking about the games we played at Origins, the games we brought back from Origins and played since the Origins, and then some of the games. We'll just talk about Origins a little bit
Origins
too.
the experience.
Origins, the gaming experience. So first off, let's get this out of the way. Origins was an okay gaming experience. It was
it was better than I expected from the last couple years. I'll say that right off the bat.
okay.
That's good.
I had been going throughout the pandemic over the past 2 years, or when they started doing it again.
Yeah, back up.
When it started again,
2 years ago was tiny.
It was absolutely tiny, and then last year was not much better. This year was. I don't want to say that it was Origins as we know it, but
It
it
was
was
not.
much closer. In fact, I mean, I would say I was pleased even with it.
I was
What
saying
a
it was,
glowing
it
review.
was Origins as I know it.
That's
because it
true.
was my first Origins.
It
That's
was
true.
her first
And
Origins.
we only went for a day, but I still felt like that was appropriate. Where we got to see a lot of the hall, we got to see a lot of people, we got to play a couple games,
Yeah.
so it was like a little like mini conference.
Yeah, and we got to eat some hot chicken takeover. Is that what it's called? Hot chicken takeover?
I mean, that's the thing about going to Origins. Origins
North
for
Market.
me, it's a great con to see people and
Yes.
eat some good food. Like at Gen Con, I don't really have the leisurely time to enjoy a nice lunch.
No, it's definitely more leisurely.
Or like
for sure.
even a nice dinner. Like even at dinner time, it's like grab something really quick. We got to get to this meeting, or we got to go see this presentation, or do this thing. So Origins is way more chill, and since it is more chill, I think more people come looking for that experience.
Yeah.
So it's easier to like sit down and demo some games. It's easier to even like go to the games library, and I do think it's great. I don't know how they made this possible. But this was the first year that just having a badge let you get into the games library. You didn't have to pay for the ticket or the wristband or whatever to get into it. So I think a lot more people were using it, myself included, because I've never really, I never really wanted to pay because I was only like, I'll get to play one game.
Sure.
So it never really seemed worth it. So it was good to have access. We played a couple games actually out of the library as well.
Yeah, I will say one thing about the slower pace too is that when you saw people, you got to kind of like actually say hello to them. So we saw a few people from that we had seen last year at Buckeye Game Fest, and we actually got to have a conversation with them, which was nice. Whereas like at Gen Con, right, you're just like, you see someone, you're like, hi, bye, gotta go somewhere, gotta see something. There's like 50 people in between you.
It is a more chill experience, and it was nice on the front of people that we'd see. There wasn't all the same people. Like back 4 or 5 years ago, before pre-pandemic, everyone went. From the content creator circle. But we did happen to go get a demo from Stan Kordonski of his upcoming game.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
Which sounds really cool. And while we were there on the second floor of the Hampton, which is like our stomping grounds for when we're at Origins, we bumped into some people we'd seen there from the past, some local people, but also Rodney was there with his friend Rich Summer and some other people.
Yeah, we got to watch him play.
We did watch Rodney play.
Yeah.
Boom. I'm gonna give you a high five for that.
Don't, because Rodney's probably watching this now, and I don't want that ever.
I guarantee you, Rodney's not watching this. Anyway, it was a good time catching up with them. Also bumped into Jamie Keegi and all the crew from Secret Cabal.
It's so great to see Jamie back up too.
Yeah, it was nice.
He went through some medical stuff over the past year, so it was really good to see him.
We saw a lot of people. Let me just tell you, there's too many people. Lots and lots of people. For an introvert, too many people. But it was great.
Yeah, plus you don't know them all as like we were introducing them.
Like, and this person, like all these names.
When you
none
go
of them
to,
will be remembered.
She keeps one at a time.
When you go to so many cons over the years, you start, it's like your con family, right? The people that you have to play games with. Since we work in the industry, we do content creation. A lot of people that I know just go, like they work for companies to get their badge, or they're
just to go,
or they're running booths just to go. And so a lot of them aren't free until night. So Origins for me kind of starts like at 9 p.m. Like the hall closes, everybody gets dinner, then you really get to sit and play games. But it's nice to be able to walk with you guys. And then on Friday, I walked with some local friends that came up.
Yeah.
We actually took the time to sit down and not just demo, but actually like to fully play through some of these games. That was a really, really good experience. And you can do that at Gen Con, but there's a lot of pressure at Gen Con. There's usually like a line of people waiting to demo, so you'll get one round or you'll get, a 15-minute
and Gen Con's more
thing.
dominated by the hotness, right? Like there's all these new games that are being released and coming out, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to get my copy of this. It didn't feel like Origins was that kind of vibe, right?
No, you got to sit down and play games. And I will call out specifically the Hachette booth had like 5 tables, and you could just sit down and play like a lot of their new games. Like Miller Zoo was there to play. They had that giant, not Quarto.
Qwalae. Yeah, in fact, that's not even a brand new game, but Emily and I played a game of that too. You ended up winning?
I also
won
you
that
did.
One. Of course you did.
And like I even took the time to teach Acropolis to some friends that were there, because like I think that's
they hadn't played it,
They hadn't played it, and I think that's a game that
that's cool.
Deserved it. But we also did all of this to lead up to, we did get to actually play some brand new games and some hot new games that I think were worth talking about as well.
Yeah, and I'll start because it is an Hachette game, and it was Rauha.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how it's pronounced, Rauha
or
Rauha.
We're told.
But it is a really cool game. It's got this sort of theme around like,
shamans building a world with life energy.
Yeah, but you are in gameplay terms drafting these little square cards that are the biomes to add to this like 3x3 grid. And it's an engine builder at its heart. You're able to like put these cards out there, but it has some really cool, interesting timing going on, because as you're playing the game, each round you're moving this piece around your board, and depending on where that piece is what you're going to be able to fire off. So as you draft a card and play it, if you play it in the row or column that's going to fire off, very satisfying. If you don't, maybe somewhat less satisfying, but as you play, you're filling your board so you can build these really fun things where you're like, oh, this time I get a ton of points, or I get these crystals that I can spend to do this. And then there's scoring phases around each corner. The great thing about this, and we're going to have content, it's probably not up yet, but Emily and I just recorded ourselves playing that whole game as well as Boop up for the channel. It's a very fast game. It goes really quickly, and even if it doesn't time-wise go quickly, it feels really fast no matter what.
Well, your turns are quick, and a lot of it is simultaneous.
Yeah.
Because as you're drafting cards from your left to your right, and I think that everyone's doing it at the same time, so you're not really having to say, even if somebody has AP, you're not sitting there waiting forever for them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That really helps.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. It's kind of in that, Emily and I talked about this a little. It's in that weight where I'm not sure. It's not a heavy game. It's not like this big meaty game. I do think it's going to be one of those games that enters people's collections and then might not get played after a while. Kind of like
until they re-release it.
Until they re-release it and
it does feel a little bit like that Nidalee weight.
It is that weight for sure. It's a totally
very
different game, but very similar weight. And I've had a lot of fun with it. I can't wait to get it played with more people that haven't played it.
Yeah. Another lighter game we played was a card game called Gap. And that one was interesting to me. I always love card games because they're just so accessible and you can just get them to the table. And this one I liked because it's an interesting premise where you have these cards and you're playing them down and you're playing different colored suits, right? The numbers don't super matter except for when you play something, you will get all of that number from the middle. Or if there is none of that number in the middle, you'll get the one number higher and the one number lower. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get these sets of different colors to be pretty much equal because what you're going to score in the end is actually the gap between how many are in your highest set and how many are in your lowest set. So if I have a set of 4 blue cards and a set of only 1 red card, doesn't matter how many yellow or green I had, I'm going to score 4 minus 1, which is 3 points.
But the weird thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you have 4 yellow, 4 blue, and 4 red, and 1 something else, it's 12 minus 1, right?
Exactly.
So as long as your sets are equal, all of those count cumulatively towards that set.
If you don't have one, if you could balance all of them, you just no negative.
Yeah, then it's all of that minus 0.
But if you can't balance all of them, if you have 2, 2, 2, and then 3 of 1, you're actually going to score negative.
Yep, that's true.
Because your lower scores will all be a lot higher.
Yeah, it's a really smart card game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting. That was at Arcane Wonders, right? That
was Arcane Wonders.
Mm-hmm. Arcane Wonders, and Banzinator was kind enough. She was there demoing it for people. And she was the one that demoed it for us. And we played a full game of that, right?
Well,
technically, you could just keep playing if you wanted to, but we played one round of it anyway.
Yeah, there was I played a lot because I was there for longer.
Yeah, he was there a little bit longer.
We also, and you guys got the game that we watched Rodney play was called Scram, which was kind of a re-implementation of Cabo a little bit, or kind of...
And Silver.
Silver-ish. It's a cooperative or semi-cooperative team-based game, I should say.
Yeah.
Team-based.
When you and your team are trying to empty out your tableau by matching cards with each other. But there's so much that goes into it as far as you're drafting cards, and it's almost like golf where some of your cards are face down. You got to find ways to guess or see what they are and replace them. And if you've played Cabo or Silver, I think this was a really fun game to play. And then that team aspect, I think really helps.
The team aspect, it's a little different than those games, but not much. If you've played Cabo, you will be familiar with how this game plays, but that team aspect, I think, made it a lot more interesting, for sure.
And then we played 5 Minute Mystery, which is the next game from the people that made 5 Minute Dungeon. But
How's
this time,
that go?
It's fun. It's very hands-on. You
Was
actually
it 5
have
minutes?
It is. You have 5 minutes to solve the mystery.
And a mystery.
Wow.
There's cards that are out, and there's this codex with symbols, and you're trying to match it and literally trying to solve this mystery thing. And
Sounds
That's
like
cool.
something
to
you'd
code
like.
this
feel
thing
like
in
something I'd
5
like.
minutes, which is really cool. But the game that I played that I think stood out the most that I actually would bring home with me was called Splito. And this is a really interesting card game. It's a drafting game. Not quite played anything like it. It's like drafting plus between 2 cities.
Oh.
You have these piles of cards between every player at the table, and when you get handed a card, you're looking at your hand, and you're playing a card either between like me and David or between me and Emily. And there's cards like 1 through 9 of all different suits, so we're putting like colored cards, but there's also rules cards mixed in. And these rules cards might say like, you can only have 2 2s, or you need to have the most 6s, or you need to have 1 through 6 in your pile. And if you put them in a pile, you're basically saying this pile needs to fulfill, has only 2 2s in it, and if it does, we get points.
Is that face up?
That's face up, but but when you play them, they're face down, right? Because we both play a card. I might play a card in our pile, and you might play a card in our pile. And my card might say 0 2s, and you might have just put a 2 down. We don't know until we reveal. And you kind of have this power, like this benefit of like seeing your hand and knowing what you're passing. So David might play a rule like, you know, have the most 6s, and my hand's full of 6s, and he's like, wink, wink, you know, put a 6 there. But then I'm like, well, I see David's pile with Emily has a lot of points. I don't actually want to score this one, because at the end of the game, you count up each pile, you look at all the points, and you multiply them.
Oh.
So if Emily and I really built up our pile and David and I didn't, I might get like 6 points times 1 point.
I see. So if the person next to you is doing really well with the person next to them,
right,
you want to do really well with the other person next to you.
Right, because if I do really well with you and Emily does really well with you and we don't do well with each other, we basically just handed you the game.
Yeah, so that's like the between two.
And so that's kind of the between two cities vibe. You don't score your lowest, you actually multiply them together, but you really need to be cognizant
of what you're doing,
of what you're putting down in these piles. And also, like, you see somebody that has a rule that says they need the most 2s. Maybe I want to put some 2s in my pile just to keep them away from them, even though it's not really helping us at all. And there's 2 global. Like, it was just a very thinky game and fun. Like,
how many does it play?
It plays, I think, up to 8. 6 or 8, but I think it's 8.
Wow.
And it's a great it's a great game for when you're sitting around chit chatting too, because really, once you draft your card, you just
chit chat.
Oh, I didn't.
Look what you did.
I don't have to pay you for using the phrase chit chat.
Trademarks. Rolling dice and taking names actually as a trademark.
But that was a lot of fun. I think that's a game that's going to start catching attention.
That does sound
People
good.
Are going to start.
Was that available?
Yeah, that was available for sale from 25th Century.
Oh,
Games.
did you get one?
I didn't, but everyone I came with did, so they've all got it.
Oh,
so
okay.
So I'll probably borrow theirs and bring it over.
Speaking of big player count, you also played another game of Wandering Towers, right?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We got to actually sit down at the Capstone booth and play Wandering Towers.
How many players?
We played with 6.
That's full complement, right?
Which full complement, yeah. And the guy that my friend Jordan came with his son, they ended up buying it. Because it's such a great family game, and they had such a fun time.
I love
that was
game.
A big release for them also. That was we didn't do an Origins preview. This is kind of a funny story. We were at a booth. I don't know the person's name, so even if I did, I wouldn't call them out. But we were talking to some people, and someone was talking to the publisher and told the publisher, because we were in the middle of a conversation, tell them that I'm upset that they didn't do an Origins preview video.
We didn't.
And interestingly enough, a lot of people didn't do an Origins preview video.
Because
there wasn't a lot coming out.
They're saving a lot for Gen Con, I think.
So hopefully, if you're watching our channel and you're watching Chit Chat, this is close, even though it's not before Origins. We're talking about the games we picked up at Origins.
I want to talk about one more game.
Okay.
And I know I'm talking a lot more. I was there a lot longer, and I actually got to play a lot more games.
Plus, he just wants to talk more.
Plus, I just like to talk. I played a game called Fiction from Allplay. And this is like one versus many Wordle. It's the whole. Yeah, you would love this game. There's a whole set of books. There's cards based on books. We picked Little Women, and the one versus the many draws a card, and it's a paragraph from the book with words highlighted. They're all 5-letter words.
Yeah.
There's some easy, medium, and hard words, and they have to pick one. And then we cooperatively play Wordle to guess it. So we might write you write a 5-letter word down, and then they'll tell you, just like Wordle, this word's correct, this one is correct, but in the wrong spot, this one's not in there at all. And they'll lay down these tokens, but the twist of the game is they can lie once per guess.
Per guess?
Once per guess, they can lie.
Oh, that's a lot.
So that's the thing is you're trying to figure out. So they're looking at it, they're like, oh, the A says the A was here and in the right spot. But was it? So you might be thinking that, but that was basing some assumptions on that. But that was a lie.
Is the conceit of having it be a paragraph out of an actual book just a gimmick?
It's not really a gimmick. You start to, because you kind of look at what the book is, right? Like we had Little Women. So there's some words that you can just automatically think are probably not going to appear.
So Turbo is not going to be in there.
I see.
Right. Or Alien. Like that's probably not going to be in there.
Okay.
And you can use these fact or fiction tokens 3 times per game to point to one of the things and say, tell me if this is actually fact or fiction.
Are they all works of fiction?
They're all works of, well, I don't know if they are. I think
or
they
does
all
fiction
are. No,
come in with the lying bit?
Well, it's
or
both.
is it double?
Yeah.
It's both. So it is this interesting thing, and it's almost like, again, kind of like that Wordle experience, but like you think, okay, he said none of these were in the word, and they give you a little board that's the alphabet, so you can make notes. Like all of these are not in there, and then we find out that he's telling that like this one's a lie. That means all the rest of the stuff on that row is true. So then you start making this thing, and you're like, okay, well G can't be in there. That means that he told the truth here.
I would really like
this. Sounds like you.
It burned our brains in a way that I don't think we expected it. We did get it. The word was lumps, or lump, by the way, I think, or clump or something like that, which was not what we thought it was going to be. But that was a lot of fun. That was another game that I hadn't really heard of before the show.
Yeah.
Cool.
That I think we need to get.
It seems like just enough of a twist on Wordle that I would like it.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
But I would like to see it in action.
We played a lot more than that, but those are the ones that really stuck out.
Yeah. So that was our trip. That was our experience. Those were the games that we picked up and played from Origins. If you got to Origins, let us know. Did you play any games? Did you see anything that was exciting to you?
What did we miss?
What did we miss? Did you find a preview before Origins on another channel, perhaps? If you did, we will put you in touch with this woman who didn't like us at the show. But dude, get down in the comments below and let us know what you think. And until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.